Welcome back. Now, our next guest, Lisa McVey, just 17 years old when she was kidnapped on her way home from work one evening. She endured 26 terrifying hours of abuse before convincing her abductor to set her free.
Well, that abductor turned out to be notorious serial killer Bobby Joe Long, and Lisa's determination to survive was what ultimately led to his arrest.
So this truly is an incredible story of one girl's fight for survival. That girl is now a woman, and she joins us now live from Tampa in Florida. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning,
Thank you so
Lisa.
much for talking to us today. This is an extraordinary story.
Yeah.
It's part of a film based on your life, believe me, on Netflix. And so, when we read this morning, talk about the power of a human spirit to overcome adversity. Your childhood was troubled and traumatic in the extreme, in and out of foster care, because of your mother's drug addiction, and at 13 you were sent to live with your grandmother, and as if it couldn't have been bad already, that's when it went from bad to worse. Explain what life was like there.
Life was extraordinarily traumatic. When I was 13 to the age of 17, my grandma's boyfriend raped me for 4 years. In the time I was living with them, and my grandmother condoned it. She approved it, and there were times she even would stand there and watch and do nothing to protect me.
My God, and even when you would call your mother to tell her what was going on, it fell on complete deaf ears, and in fact she was being paid by your grandmother's boyfriend as a kind of sweetener, so there was none of that natural care and love you were meant to get from those adults around you was there at all. So you were totally on your own, and you can understand then you had these feelings where you just didn't want to live life anymore.
About the age 17, at the age 16, my grandmother moves out, leaves me with this monster to survive on my own. And I decided one day I woke up, I didn't want to live anymore. And I had worked at a local donut shop. And before I had went to work, I decided to sit down and write my suicide note. When I was to come home that night after my shift, I was going to take my own life.
So it's November the 3rd, 1984. You've decided that enough is enough. You've decided that suicide was your only way out. You finish your shift at that donut shop at 2 a.m. and you're cycling home. What happens next?
Well, I'm cycling home after working a double shift. Back then, and even now today's U.S. laws, a minor can't work but only so many hours. Unfortunately, someone had called in sick, and I decided to help out and work until 2 o'clock in the morning. And on the way home, at 2:30 in the morning, I encounter Robert Joe Long on my way home, and he abducted me, took me at gunpoint, and told me I was going to show him a good time.
And so this was the beginning of a kidnapping that was to last 26 hours, horrific abuse at the hands of this man. I think you said at one point this morning I was reading that you lost count of the amount of times that he raped you. This was horrendous. However, what changed in your head at that moment from having been this child that wrote her a suicidal letter, you knew at that moment you wanted to live. And it was actually the things that you did there that helped you detach from this horrific abuse that then helped lead to his arrest, because you sat there and you took note of everything that was going on.
I couldn't afford to allow anyone to take my life. That was my choice. I wasn't going to put it in the hands of someone else, especially a total stranger, to kill me. And at this time, you understand, I didn't know he was a serial killer. I just thought he was a rapist, and it was time to fight back for my life. Unbeknownst to me, at the age of 17, I was already a survivor going through the brutal attacks at home, is which I strongly believe helped allowed me to keep notes and to stay calm in order to save my own life at the hands of this monster.
So what did you do then, Lisa? How did you track this down? Because this was a case of counting steps up to his apartment door, what you saw, the way that the mask was put on your face, what you did, you feeling his face, you leaving DNA wherever you possibly could.
You know, there is a sense, you have your six senses, and you'd be surprised what you can see, smell, hear, taste when your sight's taken. And I had to do the method as if you take your fists and you tie a string around it, and you know, you tighten your fist, of course, and then you loosen the string. It gets it when you release your fist, the string loosens, right? So I decided to try that with my jaw in order to attempt to even to see it just a little bit beneath my blindfold, and it worked. Every time he blindfolded me, um, I would use the same method in order to make that, you know, the blindfold loose. So I had some capability of seeing just anything. Anything was something. And anything that I saw, smelled, touched, and hear, leaving my fingerprints, DNA in the bathroom, it was a sign to the police, if I was found dead, that they knew I was still trying to fight for my life and to show that I was one of his many victims. And I don't want my voice to go left unheard if I had been killed.
But he let you go. So why?
I think we're all human, we have a compassionate side of us. I had to show him that I was a compassionate person. No matter what he was doing this to me, it was horrific. But understand, this is my life. I lived this my whole life. They were sexually abused as early as 2 years old. So this is the norm for me. I was the epitome of the poster child of an abused child. It just went hand in hand, fortunately for me, to where it helped make me stronger, again, unbeknownst to me, to be able to dig deep down in my stomach, the pit of my stomach, and just want to fight even more because I deserved a better life. And here I am today to talk about it.
Well, you convinced him. You said that you were a carer for your father. You found something in him that you said that you would be his girlfriend. So there were things here, that there were triggers that you'd managed to find that worked on him. He took you to the woods, asked you to kneel down. He thought you were going to get shot, and then he let you go. And what was extraordinary, this resolve then, you go back home to this dysfunctional, abusive place, and they don't believe you, probably quite obviously that they're not going to believe you. So you go to the police, not necessarily believe very much there, until you come across Detective Larry Pinkerton. And Larry Pinkerton is the guy that brings them down.
Larry Pinkerton, before I had spoken to him, I spoke to a female detective. To me, she was right there with my mom and my grandmother, the two women in my life that were supposed to protect me and love me and show me how to become the woman I was meant to be, failed me. The last person I wanted to speak to was a female detective. But you know what? She's available, so I spoke. She didn't believe me. She thought I had holes in my story. And I told her I need to talk to someone else who can believe me. And that's when I met Larry Pinkerton. He was soft-spoken. He was caring. He was a father that I always wanted. Larry Pinkerton is an amazing detective back then. He was a sergeant of sex crimes. And if I owe my life to him. If he had not believed me, God knows where I'd be at today.
Well, if you hadn't collected the evidence that you did at that time, which they used to catch this serial killer, then there may be many, many other women that died at the hands of him, because it did turn out that's what he was. They know that he killed at least 10 other women. You helped capture him. How did it feel in that moment to know that you were part of that and you saved countless other women from a similar fate?
Well, you know, at first it came down to it, you know, when I found out he was captured, it was a whirlwind of emotions. Was it the same guy? Did I put two and two together? You know, I had heard a news broadcast probably before my fourth visit with an interview with Pinkerton that another body had been found. And I just knew it was him. And when I spoke to Larry Pinkerton about this, I said, he is the same guy. My abductor is the serial killer. He asked me how I knew. I just knew. It was that gut instinct that helped me survive this horrendous attack. Yeah. And then I went through survivor's guilt for a little while. You know, everybody does. And something like that, I would assume. You get that post-traumatic stress disorder. Everything comes with that. But it feels good to know that he wasn't out there anymore to hurt or kill any more innocent victims.
Well,
unfortunately, some of them didn't come back.
Yeah, his trial was in 1985. He pleaded guilty to all charges, received 1 5-year sentence, 4 99-year sentences, 28 life sentences, and 1 death sentence. He was executed by lethal injection on May the 23rd, 2019, 35 years after his guilty plea. Were you there when he was executed?
I was in front row seat, and I was holding Larry Pinkerton's hand and another detective, Stephen Cribb's hand. front row seat. And I was, yes, I was there full force. It wasn't about closure anymore for me. 35 years is a long time. I always stand by this quote as about justice was served the day he was arrested, justice completed the day he was executed. And I stand firm on that.
And you also said to him that you'd forgiven him because that was your way of being able to move forward and not be shrouded in anything, or him to leave anything upon you, that you would continue your life. That's what you've gone on to do. You're now a sheriff, as we can see from your badge there. You help other women in a similar situation to you. You're paying it forward. I mean, when you look, I mean, I watched the movie, and I tell you what, it was a really hard watch, actually, and there were bits in it I had to just forward through because it was too much. It's just the fact that you survived and you're here now to tell your story is extraordinary. When you look back and you think about where you began in life and where you are now, how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel extremely empowered. I go around and I try to be a role model, and I want my story to continue to get out there and inspire others. My life, I would hope, is very inspiring. Do I have my bad days? Yes. But at the same time, I had to reflect back and remember where I came from, where I'm at today. Today, I can proudly say I've served the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office for 22 years. And I'm honored. I am in a position right now. I'm a school resource deputy, and I work with middle-aged students, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and all 1,100 of my students are my babies. And so I'm proud of that.
Well, you are a remarkable, remarkable woman, and
Thank you.
And you, when you wrote that powerful statement, you said, "Bobby Jo Long, thank you for choosing me instead of another 17-year-old little girl. The reason why I say thank you now is because I've forgiven you for what you've done to me. Had I not forgiven you, I might as well be in my own prison. God has shown me the only way to really be free when someone bestows injustice against you is complete forgiveness. My life changed forever, and for the better. I choose not to remain a victim. I choose to live." Incredible words, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And that movie, believe me, is on Netflix for everyone to watch.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.